here's a big one for me is changing my relationship with rejection.
Yes.
And this is, for every person listening, when you change and watching us too, when you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life.
Yeah.
You change your entire life. And I think, fear of failure and rejection kills so many dreams. It keeps us stuck. And this was huge for me. And so just to take everyone through a tactical, let's just go there. Let's do a tactical exercise right now, because this is something that outside of this episode, you're going to want to reapply it, spend more time on it, do the work on it. But just right now, as you're listening or watching us, answer this question to yourself super honestly, super honestly. When you fail at something or get rejected, what is the first thought that goes through your head? Very first thought. When you fail at something or get rejected, what's the first thought that goes through your head? For me, most of my whole life, it's, there's proof again. I'm not enough.
Yep.
I'm not enough.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah? Is that yours then?
Yes.
Same?
Yep.
Right now, whatever your thought that just came to your mind, right? That your instant truth first response, that is your current definition of rejection, right? So for me, it's, there's proof I'm not enough, right? For a lot of people, it's something like, I'm not smart enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm stupid. I'm, X, Y, or Z. I didn't go to the right school. I didn't come from the right family. I don't have what it takes. It's because of my weight. It's whatever it might be, right? We all have this definition of rejection. And I want you to just take note of yours right now, because this is really powerful. Don't skip over this. This one thing will change your life. If you take note of what is your current definition of rejection. For me, it's I'm not enough, right? And
can I tell you what mine's more specifically?
Yeah.
Just a little bit more refined?
Yeah.
Because I want to meet you in the middle on it. I think mine is like, I don't belong here.
Yes.
So it's slightly different, but like, I don't belong here. I don't know. I think there's probably some things where when I was a kid, my dad was like, we don't belong. But if I get into an environment, I don't belong here. If it's a big stage to speak on, or a room that I'm in, or people that are smarter than me, I don't belong here. I feel like I just physically, literally don't belong. Or even different things I've achieved, or levels, or like the first time I even walked into a country club I wanted to join. I don't belong here. They don't know the real me. Like, I don't belong here. And so I just want to give the phraseology from me. Maybe could be male, female. It could be just person to person that's different.
Yes.
Keep going. I interrupted you, but I just wanted to add that.
No, that's so good. I think that sheds a lot of light too because get granular with, for everyone joining us with it right now, just get granular on what that is for you, and by the way, I have another thing. I hope we have time. I want to dive deep on what you just said. I'm going to dive deep in that in a minute with a whole other tactic.
Okay, good.
But I don't belong here. That's huge, right? I don't belong here. I'm not enough. And at our core, we all want to feel like we're enough and will be loved, right? We all need love and belonging. We all need to be seen and heard and know that we matter. And at our core, that's a huge one.
Did you have the belonging thing? I wonder, because you didn't, your birth mom gave you up real early, right? So like, did you, or did the mother who raised you make you feel like you belonged immediately, or did you struggle with that at all?
I have struggled with that my whole life.
Have you?
Yeah. Not feeling like I fit in, not feeling I belong, feeling I'm different.
Yes. And maybe you are different, and maybe that's a good thing. It doesn't mean you don't belong, but I am different. You are different. I know you. By the way, those of you that are listening, you are different. That's why you're individually you.
Yes.
Right? That's the thing that makes you different is your special sauce.
Yes.
Not the thing that eliminates you from the room or the environment. It's what makes you special to add something to your family, add something to a company, add something to another human being. Is these different things about you? So anyhow, you're going down your strategy.
And to add to that, it's your superpower. If you are showing up in this world as your authentic self, by definition, you've never been done before. There's never been another you. And we think the thing that is different or quirky or awkward about us is what's wrong with us, but it's actually the thing that's right with us, right? And I don't want to get off on a huge tangent, but like, had I not embraced all the crap that was technically wrong with me, I could have never built $1 billion company. Like, rosacea is considered a flaw. It's considered something wrong with me. And it's like when I finally started to embrace it and share it and step into it, right? That's when other people felt seen. I was like, oh, me too. And I have skin challenges or this or that or whatever. And it's like, there's a whole chapter in Worthy about this idea of how you're not crazy, you're just first.
I love this.
You're not crazy, you're just first.
Yes.
And oh gosh, okay, I could talk about that for hours, but the lessons around this will change your life. It's why this book just came through me. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds. I'm not even doing this to sell books, but this book will change your life, and I'm so fired up about it. But to get real tactical, okay, back there. So we just did our new definition, your current definition of rejection, which for me is like, oh, yep, proof again, I'm not enough.
Yep.
For Ed is, I don't belong here, right? And take note of what yours is that came to your mind right now. And step one of literally changing your entire life. Again, when I believe this through my core, when you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life, your business, your family, your relationships, your goals and dreams, ever stepping into your calling. So I want you to come up with a new definition of rejection that you are going to believe is true and remind yourself of every time it happens. Okay. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. So, for example, when I went through years of hundreds and hundreds of no's and rejections building It Cosmetics, and I would sit there, Ed, and I would Google all of my greatest heroes or people I thought I had so much respect for. And as I would read their stories, I'm like, oh, they've all gone through tons of rejections in their life, right? Every single one of them, right? And I came to this realization that the people who succeed the most are also the people who fail the most, because they're the people who try the most and keep going. And so I started telling myself this new definition of rejection, which is, ooh, it's a victory. It means I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it.
Yes.
And I started telling myself that every time I'd call a new retailer on the phone and they're like, oh, no, you're not the right fit for us or this or that or whatever. And it would hurt my feelings. It's not that I was immune to being hurt or whatever, but I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it, which means eventually I'm going to succeed. And I started seeing rejection in this weird way as a positive thing. Okay. Another definition that I use a lot is rejection is God's protection.
Yes.
Right? And I use this one a lot, and there are more in my own life, in my own head, right? This is something I tell myself over and over. There's more stories than I can count where I'm like, and by the way, one example is It Cosmetics. I mean, there was one investor midway through the journey that said, he passed on investing. And I thought we were down to almost bankrupt, right? Yep. We had under $1,000 in our account, which was the company and our personal, which meant we had a few weeks left before we went bankrupt. Yep. And everything was on the line. And I had this big meeting with a potential investor. And you know the story, Ed, but
it's so unbelievable.
At the end, he passed on investing. And I really was thinking he was going to be like my saving grace. And he said that he didn't think women would buy makeup from someone who looked like me with my body and my weight. And it was a whole thing. And
Wait a second. Hang on. Did you all just hear what she said? Okay, I want you to imagine you struggle with worthiness issues. You've been building this company forever. I just want to make sure, because I think what you're about to tell them, the belief system that you took from it, could change the world. So the first thing is, I want to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not crazy. You're just first. I want everyone to just digest that. I want you to hear what this woman said. Who knows about this stuff? You are not crazy to be pursuing your dream.
Yeah.
You're just first.
Yep.
And you're probably first in your family, which is why they're the ones who think you're the craziest. You need to accept this.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a profound... Jamie has this ability to say profound, deep things over and over again, hundreds of them, and she doesn't know. You are not crazy. You're just first. And your family's probably not going to get it. And even in your own company, maybe they're not going to get it. And so that's okay. The second thing is, this woman's struggling with worthiness all of her life. She's getting rejected like crazy, up and down. She's also struggled, one of her worthiness issues is she had rosacea. She's struggled with body issues all of her life, if we're going to get really real with Jamie, okay? Yeah. She's had body issues. So imagine your biggest insecurity is probably that. It's physical, okay? She's this gorgeous, beautiful woman, but she doesn't know it. And so her number one insecurity is probably her body issue, at least operating out in the real world. She goes into this meeting needing it. She's down to $1,000. He not only rejects her, He says to you, I'll let you say it again. Yeah. He tells her the very reason I'm rejecting you is the very thing you think about yourself the most deeply. I want you to imagine this. So go ahead.
Yes. And we had gone through meeting after meeting. We went through the diligence phase. We were so close with this potential investor who's the head of a private equity company. And in the final meeting, it was in person. So he's about 3 feet from me. Paulo, my husband, was on the other side. And he says, congratulations. You should be so proud of this product and what you've built, but it's a no. We're going to pass on investing. And when I said, can you tell me why? Yeah. It's usually feedback's a gift. And he got very quiet. And he said, you want me to be really honest with you? And I said, yes, please. And he said, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And 2 things though, Ed, okay, because rejections and the pain that they cause can take us out. They can take us down. They can take us out. We can keep replaying them over and over and over in our heads. And by this point, I had so many rejections. This was just one that I thought was going to be my saving grace that had he said yes. And I remember after I cried in my car, I remember telling myself rejection is God's protection. And I don't know how this is going to be God's protection. I don't see it now. It doesn't make sense to me now. I needed it to be a yes now, but I'm going to choose to believe that, because if I don't believe that, it's going to take me down. I'm not going to get back up and keep going and embracing more rejection and more rejection and more rejection and more rejection, right? And here's what ended up happening. I didn't hear from that guy for 6 years. The day that L'Oreal bought my company for $1.2 billion cash, because they are a public company, it was all over the press, right? Yeah. Homepage of the Wall Street Journal, everywhere. That was the first time I heard from that potential. Yeah, in 6 years, he said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong.
Gosh.
And what I wanted to say to him, Ed, was, did you ever see Pretty Woman?
Yes, the character's Edward. Of course I saw Pretty Woman. I love that movie.
So when they wouldn't help her in the store and then she goes back later, what I wanted to say to him was, big mistake. Huge. I can give you 1.2 billion reasons why it was a huge mistake, but I kept it classy. I didn't say that. But here's my point in this. Had he invested, it would have been the most successful investment in his firm's history. But guess what? I was so desperate at the time, Ed. We probably would have given the majority of the company for almost no money, right? Because he didn't believe in me. When we sold to L'Oreal, I was the largest shareholder. So it's like, rejection is God's protection, and sometimes we don't see it when it happens. And so that's one.
Can we say something on that too?
Yeah.
Okay. So because her and I talk about these things all of the time. First of all, it's one of the most unbelievable stories ever, and I've heard it many times. A few weeks ago, I went to watch Jamie speak. I'm in the front row. Obviously, I'm rooting for my friend. But I got emotional again. I started crying again. And actually right now, if I'm not careful, I will, because I'm picturing this woman who all of her life has struggled with worthiness. And then to have someone hit you right where he's hit. But rejection is God's protection is one of the fundamental beliefs I've never heard said before, that if you adapt and adopt that belief in your life, it will change your life. Here's how much your relationship with rejection matters. My children, both, you get that stage, Max and Bella. Both of them are, hey, they're in college, you're getting ready for their careers. And Max's son said, maybe I'll follow in your footsteps, Dad, get into sales in the beginning. And I said, Max, the whole key, if you're going to go into business for yourself, is your ability to deal with rejection. It's the number one thing. Can you deal with rejection? And what's the story you tell yourself? Because it's not the stories of our life, the events of our life that define it. It's the meaning we attach to it. Our friend Erwin McManus had a great post I saw today, by the way, Jamie, where he said, emotions only store in our body when they're attached to a story. So if there's no story, you've had a lot of emotions in your life that don't stick because you didn't attach a story to it. But when you attach a story to it, so that story you tell yourself. So you take it a step further. This is an all-time moment on podcast she's about to give you, just so you know, guys, okay? So not only is rejection God's protection, but what else did you eventually uncover that you realized about what God was doing on your behalf in that rejection in terms of hiding something from Him? You guys listen. Your life's about to change in this next 1 minute right here, because if you can adapt this true belief system, it's not only a belief, it's a truth about your life. Your life's about to be very different, including mine the first time I heard it. So go for it.
Yeah. If you're someone that, you are holding on to pain from a past relationship, a past failure, mistakes that you've made, someone who did you wrong, the job you didn't get, the thing that's not going your way, whatever it might be, the partner that screwed you over, whatever it is, right? This definition of rejection is probably the most common one I apply to my life right now, almost every single day, Ed, because sometimes, you know what? A friend doesn't invite you to coffee or include you in a group, and it hurts your feelings, right? Whatever it might be. This is now what I believe most commonly when rejection happens in my life. I imagine my creator, God, saying, oh, no, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. Gosh. And I believe that, right? When things don't go my way right now, when someone, doesn't give me the thing or want me there or include me in the room, whatever it might be, or doesn't get me for some reason. Have you ever tried to make someone you want to connect with them so bad, you want them to like you and they just don't? Whatever it might be, I believe this through my core, and it has changed my life, that I always now hear God saying to me, oh, no, you're not rejected. You weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny.
It's one of the all-time greatest things I've ever heard, and I wish every human being could hear it. And I hope you share this, everybody, this episode.
Yeah.
I want my daughter to know that. I want my daughter to know it so badly that when you walk in a room and a boy doesn't notice you like you'd like them to, or you don't get invited to something, or you get rejected in a sale down the road in your life, or if you're in a relationship and somebody leaves you, God had started to hide your value from them.
Yes.
And I'm telling you at 52, and Jamie can tell you as a much younger woman than I am, but having a lot of success in her life, it is so profoundly true. That's what God's doing. He is protecting you in that moment by either hiding your value or taking the perception of your value away when they once did. And sometimes in life, to get you out of a relationship or out of a company or out of a job you have and you've been fired.
Yes.
You've been fired.
Yes.
Maybe they used to value and now they don't. And God's removed that value from them to protect you.
Yes.
It's so beautifully true. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to say it.
It's so true. Yeah. And I love what you said earlier. Share this episode with anyone who needs to hear this.
One of the big things you've done, Bella, my daughter, wants to get into, I think, to my financial company. And I said this to her before I read your work, and that's why I was running in. I want to talk about this topic because when you already don't feel worthy and then you get rejected, wow, right? And you've dealt with so much rejection in your life. You've always had some body image issues in your life. And when Bella decided she wanted to do fun, she got her license and she said, Daddy, I'm going to be great. I'm in sales. I can motivate. And I said, my biggest concern, Bella, is how will you deal with all of the rejection you're going to get? It's the killer in sales, not just life. In sales, if you can't deal with rejection, you're toast. In life, we frame rejection wrong. And you say in the book, I'm going to let you word it your way, but if you can change your relationship with direction, you have these great sayings that people will remember. I'm going to let you say them. But talk about that. You already don't feel worthy, most of us, right? Then rejection comes in. Yeah. To me, that's like the shovel on the face of burying someone's dreams is rejection. Unless what?
So rejection. So I'm getting so emotional.
Yeah, me too.
So emotional.
Me too.
Rejection. Oh my gosh. Yeah. In the book, in Worthy, I go into like 20 tactical tools you can apply to your life right now to build self-worth. And chapter 2, that was almost, it's so tactical. It was its own book.
Yeah.
It was its own book. And I didn't want to wait 2 more years for it to come out. So it's literally now a chapter in Worthy called, When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Entire Life. And I go deep in a framework in it called the 4 R's. And this is life-changing because, as you know, everything in life is just the meaning we attach to it, right? It's the story we tell ourselves about. It's the meaning we attach to it. It is possible, and I know because I've done it. As you mentioned, like I went years. A lot of people see the success of it, cosmetics, but the first 3 years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections. Everyone telling me that this wasn't going to make it, saying no, they didn't want me in their stores. Like we almost went bankrupt a number of times. We didn't pay ourselves for over 3 years. I mean, and most of us give up after 1 rejection or 20 rejections, right? I've done a lot of things wrong in building that business, but one of the things I did right was I learned how to change my relationship with rejection and become fearless over it. So Really quick, do you want me to take everyone through this framework? Okay, because you could do this with Ed and I right now live. So let me just start with this question, and I want you to answer it honestly, okay? Honestly, when I say imagine yourself getting rejected or you failing at something, what is the first thought you have when you get rejected or you fail at something? And be really honest. Sometimes we think it, we don't even realize we're thinking it. What's that first thought you have when you get rejected or you fail? For me, most of my life, it's like, yep, there's proof I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Proof again, I'm not enough. What has it been for you, Ed?
I'd want to hide.
I want to hide.
Yep. I'd want to hide.
I want to hide.
I want to hide.
When I ask, I've asked small groups this question, and oh my gosh, the things people say just at home to know you're not alone. A lot of people are like, oh, yep, I'm stupid. Yeah. I shouldn't have even tried. What was I even thinking? I'm a loser. I don't have what it takes. I'm unqualified, right? Yeah. Whatever your first thought you just had is, that is the first R called reveal, and it is your current definition of rejection. So whatever that first thought you had is, I want to hide, I'm stupid, I'm a loser, I'm not enough. That is your current definition of rejection. That is the meaning you assign to rejection. And now here's the thing, as human beings, we are wired to avoid pain at all costs, right? Like, it's why for some of us, we won't even go to the gym because we know there's pleasure in the outcome and the health and the wellness, but I don't want the pain of working out. Like, we will avoid pain at all costs in different areas of our life. So if your definition right now at home that you just thought to yourself is painful, and for most of us it is, I'm not enough, I'm a loser, I'm stupid, I shouldn't have tried, I want to hide. If it is painful, you will stay stuck, you won't go for it, like you'll talk yourself out of it because you want to avoid pain. So the second R is to redefine and reframe that definition. But here's the key. Because then, you talk about, I think, scratching a CD. Like every time your old definition that you just thought of comes to your mind, you intercept it and you replace it with this new true definition. But it has to be true. This is the second R, which is redefine. It has to be true. So a couple examples. Rejection is God's protection.
Love this.
Right? Rejection is God's protection. Now, I believe that is true. You have to believe your new definition is true. I believe that at my core, it's true. And then over time, I can look back and go, yep, that was true. Rejection was God's protection.
Give me the one example, if you don't mind, that I know about when you were really, really trying to sign, to get equity signed with this dude. And he basically tells you no. And the reason no is blah, blah, blah. And like that was a really traumatic moment in your life, but it was actually God protecting you at the same time. So do you mind just showing them that? And then we'll go to the other two R's. But go ahead. This is because they'll remember this the rest of their life.
And by the way, the dude not wanting to date me, exclusively in the health club, that's rejection, a form of rejection.
Yes, sure is.
Which, thank God, I could have just doubted myself out of my whole future. Just gone with him one-on-one off into the sunset.
What a great point.
Right? Rejection's God's protection. The dude that breaks your heart, like all of it, right? The friend that betrays your trust, that doesn't invite you to the party and you don't know why. Rejection is God's protection. So the story you're sharing, oh my gosh, we'd had years and years of rejections, and I finally got this big meeting with a potential investor, huge private equity company. We went to several meetings, got into the diligence phase where we hired lawyers. Like, I thought this deal was going to happen. And Ed, I thought, like, oh my gosh, if he invests in us, then we're not going to go bankrupt. Like, he's going to be my knight in shining armor. And I was putting him on this pedestal, right? And I was like, oh, and it got down to the final meeting. Paulo, who my husband, Paulo was there. We flew up for this. We were in person. I just thought it was going to change my life, and it did, just in a different way. But it came down to the end of the meeting, and this head investor was there, a very famous private equity company. His whole team was there. They were awesome. And at the end, he says to me, you should be so proud. Like, this is a great product. Congratulations. But it's a no. We're going to pass on investing in It Cosmetics. And I was just like, okay, can you tell me why? Because feedback is usually a gift. And he got really quiet. And he says to me, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I was like, yes, please. And I remember like my heart beating in my ears because I was like, why is he not sharing this with me? And I remember the moment his mouth started moving and he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And two things, like in that moment, I never actually got angry at him, but I remember this lifetime of body doubt and self-doubt. Like, so it felt like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye. But when he said that, I remember this feeling like in my gut, and I can feel it like it was yesterday, that said, he's wrong. Like I felt it in my gut, right? And two things. When I look back at that moment, like that feeling, that intuition, that knowing was so strong that said he's wrong, even though I couldn't prove it. Like I was not selling much. We were barely in business. I had been getting rejections for years. But when he said those words to me, like, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And that feeling, like what I know, and I can look back at that moment, is that like this dude gave me a no, but God gave me a knowing, like that knowing, right? And so two things happened. I didn't hear from him again for 6 years. Now I went out in my car and cried that day, but I didn't hear from him for 6 more years. And when those thoughts replayed in my mind, when someone says something hurtful to us, we can let it take root in our identity.
Yes.
We can let it think that we're not enough and we need to change who we are. And so I would imagine myself turning down the volume on that no and turning up the volume on my knowing, right? And trusting what I felt like God's word. Like I hear God when I pray through my intuition, through that gut feeling.
Yes.
The other thing I did was I redefined that rejection. Every time I was tempted to think, oh, I'm rejected, I'm not enough, like all the things, like my old story, I'd intercept it, be like, nope, rejection's God's protection. I don't know how, I don't see it yet, but I'm going to believe, because I know in my soul, I believe this to be true, rejection's God's protection. 6 years later,
This is so good.
the day we sold to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion cash, they're a public company, and I didn't know till the night before they were going to announce it publicly, the purchase price, everything. And it was on the homepage of the Wall Street Journal. It was everywhere. And that was the first time I heard from him in 6 years. And he said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong. And
Yeah, you were wrong.
do you remember, Ed, that moment in the movie Pretty Woman,
Yes.
where like she goes in the store and they won't help her?
Yes.
And then she goes back the day later, a couple days later.
Yes.
So what I wanted to say to him in that moment was like, big mistake. Huge. I could give you 1.2 billion reasons why. It was a huge mistake. But I didn't. I kept it classy. And I remembered two things. Because here's the deal. Had he invested and believed in me, I was so desperate at the time, we would have given him the majority of the company for like no money.
Yeah.
Because he didn't believe in me, like the day we sold the business, we were the largest shareholders. So it's like rejection is God's protection. And there's so many other beautiful definitions. Like one day I was getting, oh my gosh, it was like in the middle of this massive season of rejections. And I started Googling everyone I admire in business and in thought leadership and in who's changed the world as a force for good. And I realized they've all gone through rejections. They're just the brave ones willing to keep going anyways.
So good.
So that was another definition that I put in my toolbox. Is like, okay, sometimes I was like, okay, I just got rejected, but you know what? This is a victory. It means I'm one of the brave ones willing to keep. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. I'm not, in the stands watching everyone else on the field. Like I am one of the ones in the field, not living my life in regret. And so this rejection is a freaking victory because it means I'm one of the brave ones willing to keep going for it, right? Another great definition could be I'm putting in the reps. I'm putting in the reps. I'm getting strong enough to carry the weight of my yes or my success when it happens, right? We start stacking these new definitions. So that's the second R. The third R is my favorite, which I think it's the most powerful, and it's called revisit.
Okay.
It's where we actually revisit old and past rejections and failures in our lives. Pay attention to what definition have I given those, and let me redefine those.
Very good.
And one you and I have talked about a couple times together that I think is just so powerful. And for anyone listening who has had someone betray their trust, had the rug pulled out from under them, has someone who does not see their value or love them like they need to be loved. When I revisit rejections often, I will literally, here's how I define them my favorite way to define them. I will literally imagine God saying to me, like, oh no, you weren't rejected. Like I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I believe it. And to this day, Ed, even like, I always share everything with you, but like, even if there's a friend that just doesn't, show up for me, even though I always show up for them, or whatever it is, like, instead of me feeling like, oh, something's wrong with me, which would be my old default definition, I'm like, okay, God's hiding my value from them because they're not assigned to my destiny. And I lean on that. And then it doesn't take root in my spirit. It doesn't, take root in my self-worth. I become more fearless in going after things and putting myself out there. And
There's so much to unpack there. One of the first being, I think you mentioned around 80% of women, 73% of men experience a lot of serious self-doubt and a lot of limiting beliefs. You talked about, obviously, one of your biggest, it seems like one of your biggest issues was rejection, this fear of rejection. Would you walk us through sort of your experience with what some of your biggest limiting beliefs were and how you overcame those?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would love to do this with you if you are great with it, with everyone listening and part of this show with us right now. Because the fear of rejection and the fear of failure is one of the biggest reasons we stay stuck. And I would love to share kind of a tool, like a real practical framework that we can do in our lives right now to kind of take a step forward in overcoming this. Because I truly believe, and by the way, when I wrote this book, Worthy, it's really because my biggest journey in life has been, how do I believe I'm worthy of my hopes and dreams? And in life, what I know to be true is we can have all the success in the world. We can build all the things and all of that. And those things build confidence, but none of them build self-worth. And we'll never be able to enjoy those things if we don't absolutely feel worthy underneath all of it. Also, for most of us, if we don't have strong self-worth underneath it all, we'll sabotage them along the way, or we'll hit a ceiling in our business or our ideas. And the worst of it too, when we struggle with self-worth, which is the one thing that changes everything in our life when we build it, is that when rejections or failures happen to us, we can all of a sudden, especially when we've had them in the past, we start to take them on not just as a rejection or failure that hurts our confidence, which is largely based external, but we start to think we're a rejection or we're a failure. We're rejected or we're a failure. We take it on at an identity level, and that's when it hurts our self-worth. That's when so many of us stay stuck and don't go for things. And so, step one is, there's a whole chapter that almost was its own book. It was going to be its own book, but I didn't want to wait 2 more years. And so it's inside Worthy as a chapter called When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Life. And so here's what I would love to take everyone through. There's a framework called the 4 R's. And this has been life-changing for me. It's been company changing, relationship changing, all of it. When you think about how, as human beings, we're all wired to avoid pain at all costs. Yep. And I know so many people, even though they know if I go to the gym, I'll be healthy and I'll have all of these pleasurable rewards, but I just hate working out. And so many people will want to avoid the pain of working out, even though they know the payoff. Like, we're just wired to want to avoid pain. And so for most of us, when we think of getting rejected or failing at something, we associate so much pain with it that it keeps us stuck. And so just to do this kind of in real time with everybody, because this is something you can apply to your life right now, that is just, so powerful. So right now, just ask yourself this question. We're going to go through the 4 R's, and this is the first R, called reveal. So right now, ask yourself this question and really be honest with yourself. Think about, a time when you have failed or been rejected. Maybe there's many times, but what is the first thought that goes through your head when you get rejected or you failed at something? And a lot of times we're not even aware of this first thought. We just have it, right? But if you're listening to me and Josh right now, think about this. What is the very first thought you have? And be really honest with yourself when you get rejected or you fail at something. Josh, what is it for you?
I think that I could do, well, it depends on the person probably. One, it could be I'm not smart enough or I'm not good enough. And the other could be, well, it could be actually pushed back at the other person of, well, that person, doesn't know what they're talking about sort of idea, or that person's not smart or wise. And so it's probably could go two ways.
Two ways. So, it's so good. For me, most of my whole life, mine was always like, yep, there's proof I'm not enough. Yep, proof again, I'm not enough would be the first thought I'd have. And for a lot of people, like I've asked, various groups this question, and I've had a whole room of CEOs in tears because a lot of people aren't aware, but for a lot of people, the first thought they have is something like, I'm a loser. I shouldn't, why'd I even try? I knew, who do I think I am going for this? Not smart enough. The one you brought up is a big one. So what thought that you just had for everyone listening, right? For Josh, it was either, oh yeah, I'm not smart enough, or, oh, they're not smart enough, they're wrong. For me, it was like, yep, there's proof I'm not enough. Whatever it was for you listening right now, that first thought you have, that is your current definition of rejection and failure. So that is the meaning that you attach to rejection or failure, often without even realizing it. And for so many of us, that meaning is so painful that we want to avoid it at all costs. So we stay stuck. We don't go for the thing. We're running a great business, but we don't put our wild idea out there that just might move the needle, right? Because we want to avoid the potential of rejection or failure because of the meaning we attach to it. And so most of my life, it was always like, oh, yep, there's proof I'm not enough. I'm not enough every single time. And what happened is, as I was building at Cosmetics, going through hundreds of rejections, there was one rejection one day. I just had this dream and vision we should be on QVC. When God tells you something and you feel it, but like no one else seems to agree and you don't know why. Right. And like we eventually built the biggest beauty brand in QVC's history. But for 3 years, they said no. And not only no, but you are not the right fit for us or our customers. I mean, there was one no in particular was so painful because we were so close to bankruptcy. And so I'll never forget this no. And I just crawled under my covers. I started Googling every person I admired most who has built incredible things in business and who has moved the world forward, who's helped heal humanity through love, who's, shifted culture. And I started reading about all their stories, and every single one of them has gone through countless rejections and failures on their journey. They're just the brave ones willing to keep going anyways. And so that day I wrote down, rejection does not mean I am not enough. Rejection means this is a victory because I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. Like, I'm not going to just live my life on the sidelines and then deal with all this regret of never trying. Like, I'm going to decide right now. And here's the thing, you have to believe this to be true in your soul. But I decided right then, okay, every time I get rejected, I know my first instinct is going to be that old definition. Oh, I'm not enough. I'm going to intercept it. I'm going to replace it with that new definition. This is the second R, called redefine. And from now on, when I get rejected, I'm going to say, this is a victory. I mean, I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. And of course, I have to intentionally believe that for it to feel true. But over time, it does. Another big new definition of rejection that I started adding to my toolbox. And this is how I got through hundreds of rejections and eventually built $1 billion business. And another one was rejections, God's protection. And I would look back at past rejections and be like, oh, now I see how. It didn't make sense at the time, but it was God's protection. And I remember one moment, Josh, there was, we were down to no money. I didn't know how we were going to make it. And a potential private equity company, a potential investor, had gotten hold of our product. And they're really well known, and they've turned a ton of small companies in pre-revenue into big businesses we all shop for in grocery stores and big box retailers. And I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, if they invest in us, then A, we're not going to go bankrupt, and B, what if they use their leverage to get us into all these stores that keep telling me no? And I was so excited, and we went through meeting after meeting after meeting, and we started the diligence phase where we brought on lawyers. It was a whole thing. We got to the final meeting, and my husband and I flew up for this meeting and presented the whole future product pipeline. And at the very end of the meeting, the team was awesome. I knew they were really for me. And then the head guy says, congratulations. He was standing about 3 feet from me, by the way. And he says, congratulations, you should be so proud. This is a really great product. You should be really proud of it. But it's going to be a no. We're going to pass on investing in it cosmetics. At this point, I gotten so many no's. And I said to him, like, okay, can you tell me why? Because feedback is usually a gift. And he just got really quiet. And then he says to me, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I was like, yes, please. And then he paused for the longest time. And I remember the moment his mouth started moving and he says to me, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And when he said those words, I actually never felt any anger toward him, but it was like a lifetime of body doubt and self-doubt, like flooded my body. So I felt like I was staring my own fear, like straight in the eye. But when he said those words, I'll never forget this. I got this feeling like deep down in my stomach, like I can feel it like it was yesterday, that literally said, he's wrong. Like he's wrong. And I didn't know how to prove it, but I got that feeling, that knowing, which is when I pray, that is how I hear God, that still small voice. And when he said those words, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And I got that feeling that the city's wrong. When I look back at that moment, what I know happened is that he gave me a no, but God gave me a knowing. And I believe every one of us, our intuition is stronger than anyone else's advice. And I believe so much of our life will come down to which one we listen to, the no or the knowing. And so many of our most painful rejections can come from other people, like this one did. But most of our most painful rejections can come from ourselves and the things we're telling ourselves. And being able to tune into what is the truth and what isn't, and how are we going to define or redefine rejection. And so in that moment when and by the way, every one of us deals with rejection in different ways every single day. And when he said those words to me, I just remember making the decision. And by the way, I went out in my car and I cried. But I made the decision, rejection is God's protection. And I don't know how it's God's protection right now, but I'm going to believe it. And that was one of my favorite go-to definitions. And then 6 years later, I hadn't heard from him in 6 years. 6 years later, the day that L'Oreal acquired our company, they're a public company. And so I learned the night before they were going to disclose the purchase price. And so it was everywhere. The homepage of the Wall Street Journal, it was everywhere that L'Oreal paid $1.2 billion cash and made me the first woman to hold a CEO title of a brand in their 100-year history. It was everywhere. And it was the first time I heard from him in 6 years. And he said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong. And I don't know, Josh, if you ever saw that movie, Pretty Woman, like where Julia goes in the store, they won't help her. And then she like goes in a couple of days later. So what I wanted to say to him was big mistake, huge. But I didn't, I kept it classy. But here's what I knew is that had he believed in me at the time, I was so desperate, I would have given him the majority of the company for probably nothing. I didn't know how we were going to stay alive. Because he didn't believe in me when we sold to L'Oreal, we were still the largest shareholders. And I was like, rejection is God's protection. And so it's one definition, but I just want to encourage everyone at home to write out new definitions of rejection that you know and you know to be true, that you're going to replace that old thought every time it comes up so that you build resiliency. You don't let rejection or failure take root and make you even for a second think you're rejected or you're a failure. And you just start building that resiliency. And the third R, really, I'll try to go fast through these. The third R is to revisit. And this, I think, is the most powerful one. And it's taking that ability to redefine rejection, but revisiting past rejections and failures. For so many men, for so many women, we have had past people hurt us, reject us. We have made our own mistakes. We have failed so many times, and we let those labels and those limiting beliefs take root and it's almost like we're trying to fly carrying these lead balloons of labels we've put on ourselves from our past. And we can easily start to believe our past can determine our future, and it doesn't have to. And I love to revisit past rejections and then redefine those so that I'm not carrying the weight of them anymore, so that I change the story I tell myself about what they were. You know, two quick examples is, I was adopted, and for so much of my life, I kind of thought I'm rejected or I'm abandoned. And I kind of had that story for a long time. And I made this decision to actually apply this tool in my personal life that way. And I decided, oh my gosh, my birth mom and birth dad were together one time ever. Like, God chose me to come into this world. And then my birth mom, her life would have been way easier if she did not have me, but she chose to deliver me, and my adopted parents chose to raise me. And I changed that limiting belief and that definition I gave to rejection that used to be like abandoned, rejected, unwanted. And I replaced it with like, oh, I'm chosen. And I believe that. And it's shifted how I live my life. And the last quick one I'll share is my favorite in case someone needs to hear it today. I've never talked this much. I'm just so excited.
I love it. Hey, I love it. Learning a lot. So good.
Well, my last one that I just feel in my spirit is for someone today is when you revisit past rejections, people that have betrayed you or pulled the rug out from underneath you or did not see your value or didn't love you the way you needed to be loved, or even current things that happen, like maybe the job you apply for, you want it so bad and you don't get it, or the friend that betrayed your trust, the person that broke your heart. When those kind of rejections happen, I go deep into how to do this in a real tactical way in the book Worthy. But when they happen to you, this is my favorite one to revisit. My favorite definition is I will literally, Josh, I'll imagine God saying to me, oh, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I'll believe that. And it's how, to this day, if all of a sudden I'm not invited to a party or included in something or whatever, we all face these various forms of rejection or someone just not liking us no matter how hard we try. And maybe it's an in-law, maybe it's whatever, these various forms we all face of rejection. We put our art out in the world and it gets no likes on social, whatever it is, like whatever we're going through. I just have that divine trust where I believe like, oh, okay, God is saying to me, no, you're not rejected. I'm hiding your value from them because they are not assigned to your destiny. And I just think that it's one of the most powerful things we can do because, and the fourth R, by the way, is to revel in the fact that you have become fearless when it comes to rejection and failure. And I can just sit here and share with you that, I made so many mistakes building at cosmetics. And, I believe in the power of being a lifelong student. And every day I'm making mistakes and all of that. But one of the things that I know how to do really well, like I am fearless when it comes to rejection or failure. Like it does not faze me at all. And it's because I've learned to change my relationship with it and the meaning I give it and to new meanings I really believe. And it's literally one of the keys on how I turned an idea in my living room into $1 billion business. It's one of the keys on how, I poured my heart and soul into Worthy and I'm putting it out there in the world. Like I believe it's for a reason bigger than myself. So yeah, when you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life. There's a whole chapter in Worthy, by the way, called When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Entire Life. So many of us have let past labels, past rejections, past failures, something someone else said about us, something, and we've like had it on repeat or stick to us like a label. And we've somehow believed that that's, gonna, by the way, when we let rejections and failures hurt us, they shake our confidence. But when we let them take root at an identity level to the point where we don't think, oh, I was rejected or, oh, I failed. We think I'm a reject, I'm a failure. That is when it can chip away at our self-worth. And I go in a lot about how to do that because whether it was the biggest procrastinator or a lot of other things that happened in my life, including mistakes I made, regrets I have, and how to not let the shame of those things stick to me forever, and how to really reframe them. And I go through like a whole process in the chapter about rejection and failure, because a lot of us, like the fear of rejection and failure keeps us stuck. And I go into the 4 R's on just how do you reveal the meaning you're attaching to rejection and failure? How do you redefine that and assign a new meaning to it and literally change your relationship with rejection and failure? Because I had to do that in that process of building at Cosmetics. I had to learn, okay, I've gotten hundreds of rejections. How do I make sure I don't think I am a reject and a failure? And also, how do I embrace it and assign a meaning to it that's not disempowering? And then I also, I don't know why this is on my heart right now. I hope it's okay to share it. But in that chapter, there's the 4 R's that you go through. And the third, which is like revealing your current definition of rejection. It's a long framework that's actually really awesome if you apply it to your life, but then also redefining rejection so that you're able to like become fearless about it. But my favorite one, just to share quickly, is I talk about how to revisit past rejections and failures and reveal what meaning you're attaching to them. Because a lot of us have had, our business not work out, or a relationship not work out, or we applied for the job, we wanted it so bad and the person didn't see our value. Or we've had simple things that feel like rejection, like friends didn't invite us to the coffee. We're like, why wasn't I invited? Like these things happen to us all the time. And I talk about how to revisit past rejections, and also when they happen, how to reveal the meaning we're attaching to them and then redefine that meaning. And I talk about like how to build this toolbox of definitions, not just that sound good, but that you believe to be true in your soul about them. And part of how I built $1 billion business or got through so many rejections is the same tools I apply right now to this day. Where I had this toolbox where instead of like getting rejected, and my old default was like, oh, yep, there's proof again, I'm not enough. Like I started building a toolbox of new definitions, like, oh, rejection's God's protection. Or, rejection means I'm putting in the reps, I'm one step closer. Or rejection means I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. Like this rejection is a victory. It's a reminder I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. But really quick, when I look at past rejections and failures, for anyone maybe tonight who's letting one of those take root in their spirit, or just like attached to them, like lead balloons on their wings when they're trying to fly in life, or like a stuck label they think is permanent, I love to revisit past rejections that sometimes we don't realize we're hanging on to them, or past failures, and just acknowledge like, what meaning am I assigning to that past rejection and failure? And really think about the meaning we're giving to it, and then redefine the meaning we're attaching to it with a new empowering meaning. And 2 quick examples. Do we have time for me to share this really fast? I want to make sure. You sure? Okay. Yeah. Just for someone who needs to hear it tonight. 2 quick examples. Like I was adopted, and most of my life, I felt like my parents worked a lot. So I was home alone watching Oprah. But most of my life, I felt, kind of abandoned. And I told myself stories. I didn't find out I was adopted till my late 20s, which was a big surprise. But I'd always told myself I was unwanted or abandoned. And it showed up in a lot of ways. It showed up in me staying in unhealthy, toxic relationships with people that hurt me for far too long. I would not leave because I didn't want to be abandoned. Later, as a boss in Cosmetics, over 1,000 employees, one of my weaknesses, even though I think I did a lot right, I did some things wrong. And one of my weaknesses was I wouldn't fire people soon enough if they really deserved it, because I didn't want to abandon them. And when I did this process that I talk about in the book, and redefined it for me in a way I believed it, like I was like, oh, wait, God chose me to be like, my birth parents were together one time ever, then never again. Like I was chosen to be conceived. And then my birth mom, her life would have been way easier if she did not have me, but she chose to bring me. And then my adopted parents chose to raise me. I'm like, I am not rejected. I am chosen. Yes. And I believe that to my core, and it has shifted how I show up in relationships, etc. But the one I want to share, just for anyone who needs to hear this tonight, who has had someone not see their value, and you've let it somehow translate into you think you're not valuable, or you've had somebody who just pulled the rug out from underneath you, or crushed your heart, or a friend who betrayed your trust, like any of these rejections that so many of us face. I love to just revisit them, reveal what meaning am I attaching, and then reassign a new definition that I believe to be true. So my favorite one that I use almost daily, Tiffany, in my life, like almost daily, this is a habit for me now. I will literally, when I get rejected, when I don't get invited, my feelings are hurt, whatever it is, the person I want to be friends with is not into me, whatever it is, I will literally imagine God saying to me, oh, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I will believe that to my core. I believe God will hide our value from people who are not assigned to our destiny. And these definitions are what help me not let rejection and failure take root at an identity level that somehow I think I'm a rejecter, I'm a failure. And it helps me redefine them. And I still got a lot of issues, but fear of rejection and failure is not one of them. I am pretty fearless with it.
I would love to hear your thoughts about faith and self-worth. But one thing I did hear you say is, and I totally agree. There's so many of us that say that we believe in God, but we doubt ourselves. And how can how can those two things be true in our lives? Like, who are we actually doubting? I love that. Can you explain more on this?
Yes.
Because I think there's a lot of people listening that would say that they believe in something bigger than themselves, but can also relate to where I'm coming from too, but I still don't love myself the way that really matches up to what I say I believe.
Yes, yes. I love that you have done your homework and that you know all these key takeaways from Worthy from the book, because you're able to ask these questions that go really deep. And this was a huge realization in my life. So 2 things I'll share. When I launched It Cosmetics in my living room, and Hannah, the first 3 years, I got hundreds and hundreds of no's. And I was trying to, do things different in the beauty industry. And I have hereditary rosacea, which is like bright red and bumpy, and there's no cure. And I tried everything. And I, was close to getting fired as a news anchor because of my skin issues and whole thing. And I just had this vision, like at the time, all the models for any beauty company were all very similar, flawless skin. They all looked like they were 12, it was very, and I was like, well, what if we put, real people, like every age and shape and size and skin tone and skin challenge and all the things. And everyone was just telling me, no, it would never work. And I went through years and years and years and years and hundreds of no's. And most people, we were teetering on bankruptcy for the longest time. And a lot of people know the outcome now, but they don't really realize oh, wow, I know It Cosmetics is in Sephora and Ulta and QVC, but Sephora said no for 6 years straight.
Wow.
Ulta said no, QVC, all of them said no for years. And so many of us will give up after 1 no or 5 no's or 20 no's, or we let other people's no's somehow equate to our own doubt, or we think that they're some indication of our lack of potential. And there's just so many lessons I learned along the way around this, and in particular around how to handle rejection and failures and fear, because you were bringing this up a second ago. Fear of failure, fear of rejection. And there's a whole chapter in Worthy called When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Entire Life. And it literally helps because the only way I was able to go from my living room to a $1 billion company, and endure all those years of hundreds and hundreds of no's, is learning how to totally change my relationship with rejection and fear of it and fear of failure. And so I go deep into how everyone listening can do that in their life, right now in the book. But in terms of your question about faith, so 2 things. I remember one painful rejection in building It Cosmetics, and we had gotten no's from everybody. And I just I don't know how we're going to stay alive as a business. And oh my gosh, I finally got a phone call that I was like, this is going to change my life forever. It was this potential investor. And I think you probably know this story, but just to share it with anyone who doesn't know, he ran this huge private equity company. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they invest in us, A, we're not going to go bankrupt. And then B, maybe he could use his leverage to like get us into all these stores that keep telling me no. And like I used to save my Denny's tip money to buy like a lipstick in Sephora or in the department, you know what I mean? And I was like, I had these huge dreams and they were all telling me no. And so I was so excited. I was like, maybe he's going to invest in all this stuff. And so we started taking meeting after meeting after meeting. And it got down to the final meeting. And at the very end, I was like, you know, this is going to change my life. I was praying like crazy. And we were in person for the final meeting, and the head guy was like 3 feet from me. His whole team was there. They were really awesome. And the head guy says to me, after I presented our whole future product pipeline, everything, he says, you know, you should be so proud, like, congratulations. This is a really great product. You should be really proud, but it's a no. We're going to pass on investing in It Cosmetics. And by this point, I had heard so many no's. And I was like, okay, can you tell me why? Because feedback is usually a gift. And he just got really, really quiet. And he says, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I'm like, yeah, like, yes, please. And I remember the moment his mouth started moving and he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And when he said those words, first of all, I never actually felt any anger toward him, but I felt like this lifetime of body doubt and self-doubt like flood my body all at once. And it felt like almost like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye when he was saying this. But why I'm sharing this story was a pivotal moment in my faith journey. So when he said those words to me, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. Like I'll never forget this. Like I can feel it like it was yesterday. I got this feeling like deep down inside in the pit of my stomach that said, he's wrong. Like I felt it so clear, it said he's wrong. And I didn't know how I was going to prove it, but I felt it. And when I look back on that experience, now I went in my car and cried my eyes out. But when I look back on that experience, because those words like would replay in my head over and over in the next several years while I'm still just trying to get this business off the ground. And what I realized happened in that moment, because I got that feeling so strong in my gut, and every one of us has an intuition, no matter what you believe in, God, the universe, it does not matter. Every one of us has an intuition. For me, when I pray, it's how I hear God is through my intuition. Every one of us has an intuition. And what I know happened in that moment is this guy gave me a no, but I got that feeling. And so like he gave me a no, but God gave me a knowing.
Wow.
Our life, our relationships, if we're in the right job, if we're in the right friend circle, if we're in literally, I think everything in our life comes down to which one we listen to. Do we listen to the no's or do we listen to the knowing? And you shared this so beautifully, because I think so many people will relate to this, is that so often we're the ones giving ourselves the most powerful no's. We're the ones saying the most hurtful no's to ourselves. You can have people all around you being great, but we're the ones looking in the mirror and being like, I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. All the things, right? And so first of all, the same question goes for us, for you, for me, for all of us. Okay, we're telling ourselves all these painful no's, but if we get still, if we pray, if we ask, we will get a knowing. And the no's we tell ourselves, those are in our head. Those are where self-doubt lives. That is not who we are. Our knowing is in our gut, in our soul, and that's the truth. For me, that is how I hear God. That is how I hear my intuition. And our knowing is always more powerful and always more true than anyone else's advice or than the no's we are telling ourselves or the no's anyone else's. So a big thing in moments when we're doubting ourselves is to like check in and go, okay, is this the truth in my soul telling me this? Or is this my self-doubt in my mind, which is a lie? And it's almost always a lie. And then we have the decision of, well, which am I going to trust? Which am I going to listen to? And in the book Worthy, like there's over, 20 different tools and lies to unlearn and tools to apply. And one of those tools is the chapter you just mentioned, which is called Who Am I Doubting? Who are you really doubting? And it's a chapter about faith. And so many people, maybe you trust the universe always has your back, or you practice a particular faith. For me, I'm Christian. I believe in God. And I had this huge moment where I realized in my life, and this is relevant to anybody who doubts they're enough, who thinks that they don't like what they look like or what their body looks like, or they don't feel they're worthy of walking into the room, or they're unqualified, or any of the things that we believe. I had this moment where, I feel like, I really believe God's word. I believe I'm fearfully, wonderfully made in his image. I believe I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I say I believe all that, but then how am I doubting I'm enough when I'm about to walk into a room? How am I thinking I don't like how I look? How am I thinking I don't have what it takes and I'm unqualified and all the things? And what I realized is, oh, wow. When I believe my own thoughts and my own self-doubt, like when I have self-doubt, and this is for any of us, when we have self-doubt, what we're actually doing is believing our own thoughts and doubting God's word.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started going, oh, wow, okay, I actually don't have self-doubt. I have God doubt because I'm trusting myself. I have God doubt. And I'm like, okay, who do I want to believe? Do I want to believe my own self-doubt, or do I want to believe God's word and what he says about me and how I have everything it takes and I'm wonderfully made in his image? Which do I want to believe? And so it is one of the tools now I apply to my life. And for anyone who has a strong faith, this is an instantaneous self-worth shortcut because any room you're tempted to feel like you don't belong in, if you're handed around walking down a red carpet, any red carpet you're tempted to feel like you don't, any business you're tempted to feel like, oh, what if people see me fail? Any self-doubt that you're tempted, right? For me, I will intercept it in a second and be like, am I going to trust my own thoughts and self-doubt, or am I going to trust God's word? And I will remember in that, I will make the decision that I'm going to trust him in that moment. And then I walk into a room knowing who's walking in with me, knowing whose I am, knowing whose image I'm made in, knowing who's in me. It is an instant identity level self-worth hack and really quick way to silence everything. Because at the end of the day, it really is, self-doubt really is for people with strong faith. It's really just God doubt is what it is. And so for a lot of people, they're like, oh, wait a minute. And then it all of a sudden becomes way easier to just decide who you're going to believe in that moment. So yeah, it's a very powerful thing. In building It Cosmetics, I had to learn literally to completely change the meaning I attached to rejection and failure to one that was actually empowering and inspiring, which sounds like crazy to hear me say it that way, but it's so possible. And when I did that, I was able to go for things in a way where I was fearless of if I got rejected or failed. There was one day I was crying under my covers after a painful rejection, another painful rejection. And I just started Googling everyone I admired most in the world who'd done incredible things and, helped heal humanity through love or built incredible businesses or inspired the world. Every single one of them has had so many rejections and failures. They're just the brave ones willing to keep going anyway. And I remember one day in my journal, I wrote out, rejection no longer means I'm not enough. Rejection means this is a victory. I'm one of the brave ones willing to go, keep going. I'm not going to live my life on the sidelines, living in regret. I'm going to make this decision that every time I get rejected, of course, initially my neural pathways in my brain are going to go, yep, there's proof you're not enough. But I'm going to intercept it and go right into this is a victory. I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. And I started retraining my mind around this, and I started building this toolbox of new definitions. So another one is rejection's God's protection. Everyone that started coming in my life, and I learned how to become fearless over rejection and failure. And literally, when it happens to me, feel joy, which I know sounds wild, but and there's so many issues in my life, Hannah, that I'm working on, but I can tell you with 100% certainty, I am fearless about rejection and failure. And I go deep into how to do this in Worthy in the book. And I also talk about how to revisit past rejections. And this one is the biggest one in our lives, is so many of us have had people hurt us, let us down. We've let ourselves down. We've failed. We've made mistakes. We've hurt people. We have regrets. There's so many things from the past that we are still holding on to, like big labels on us at an identity level. We so often let them take root, and then we think we're a failure or we're rejected. Like it's a big thing. And so I go into how to revisit like past rejections and redefine those as well. And, there's a lot of examples I give in the book, but just to share one for the sake of time today, just for anyone listening, if you've had somebody break your heart, or maybe somebody like who did not love you the way you needed to be loved, maybe if it's even growing up in your family or still, or a friend that just betrayed your trust, or someone who pulled the rug out from under you, or it could also be something recent, like applying for something and not getting it, and you wanted it so bad, and like they didn't see your value or didn't see your worth. Or it could be not being invited to a party, or trying to make friends with this group of people and someone just doesn't like you and you don't know why, no matter what you do. So I talk about how you like the tool about revisiting any of those and redefining what they mean, and how to build a whole toolbox of assigning meaning to those things. And so my favorite one of all of them, I go in a bunch of them in the book, but my favorite one of all is I will look at situations like that in my life right now, and I will literally, instead of thinking, oh, I'm rejected, I'm not enough, whatever, I literally imagine God saying to me, oh, you're not rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I will believe it, Hannah. I will believe it at my core, and it helps me build resiliency and a fearlessness around it. And it helps me not let those things take root at a self-worth level. So there's so many tools we can apply to our lives right now that literally change it, because I'm sitting here talking to you, and I want to like jump inside your body and be fully fearless about all the things you want to go after, because who cares if you fail and fall flat on your face? Like all that only means the meaning we attach to it. That's it. And you have the power to decide what meaning you attach to that. And when you become fearless over it, like that is when you become unstoppable. Like that's when you become unstoppable. So
a lot of people, they have a vision. Okay, you're going to take a cross-country road trip. Let's use this metaphor. You're taking a cross-country road trip. In your mind, it's going to be beautiful and scenic and perfect, and you're so excited about it. And then, about halfway through, you kind of look in the back seat, and there's Dorito bags and Diet Coke. Your car is a disgusting mess, and you're about to pee on yourself. You're looking for the next rest stop. You're like so exhausted and so tired. You're like, you need a break. It's just like, yes, you're living the vision. You're on the route. You're on the road. But be okay with the hot mess. Don't take yourself so seriously. And here's the thing I wish I would have said on day one of Vision Week. For all of you, if you had a clue that you were already living a vision beyond comprehension, that you're already living the most gifted, impossible vision. It's like, yes, you have plans, but God has vision, as you say, right? It's like you have to realize if you're watching this, if you're streaming this, if you have the moment of leisure, the beat of the day to get to enjoy us, to be here for encouragement, to have a worldwide community like this come together every day for you free, you have to understand you already are living the vision. Now the ultimate question is, are you enjoying it? Now the ultimate question, are you giving into that? Are you contributing? Are you earning the vision of your life that you've already been granted? Like my story, Jamie, is, I had a car accident when I was 19, which most of the audience knows. And that accident made me have reverence for life, deeply care about life. And the main theme that came away from that for me personally was when I asked and I thought about my life, I was literally, I was bleeding out on the top of the hood of this car. And in that moment, when I looked down, I felt life draining out, literally. And I wondered, did I matter? And I didn't like the answer to that question. And I looked up and I had this beautiful connection with the moon and the night and God, my creator. And I just remember feeling a breath of fresh air. I knew things were going to be okay. Something happened. And I had this connection. And I just remember my first impulse after if you survive something, I don't know how some people, but I survived something. And I just was like, I will earn this. I will earn this blessing of a second chance. I want to earn my life. I will earn my life. I will earn this gift that I have been given. For me, I'm a person of faith, so I believe God gave us life. And I believe that is a blessing. And I want to earn it. And so I'm already here. Are you earning it by enjoying it and taking pleasures in beauty, surrounding nature, life's gifts, the coincidences, the fun, the obligations too? You know, remember, you wanted the child, okay? It's like, you wanted the career. You hustled the last 5 nights. You have to enjoy it. You're already living the vision if you only knew.
So good. So good. Wow. I think that's huge. Yeah, and I agree with you. People here that are part of Growth Day, that are even just mindful of all this stuff. Yeah, that's huge. They're on the vision. I also think too, Brendan, if you could talk about this a little bit, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I believe, did your car accident happen? Was it somewhere in the Caribbean or Latin or South America? And then didn't you kind of always have this vision one day you would actually live on a island in the Caribbean? And can you talk about like how your experience, if it in any way played part of your vision one day, maybe they were separate, but then also how you spent the years and all of that, having that vision as well, not just to enjoy the day and all those, but just also sometimes it's things, and maybe we never end up living on an island, but just like for you, what did that mean to you? And then how many years went by in between your car accident into when you're now living? We see the behind you, it's so gorgeous out there. But just that whole thing of knowing that vision. I feel like I heard you once share, maybe it was at your event, that, I'll let you tell it. Yeah. That you always kind of thought you'd live on an island one day.
Yeah, the accident happened in the Dominican Republic. I'm a kid from Montana, so this is a super long story, but I'm a kid from Montana, and I'd been depressed and suicidal after a breakup with the girl I loved, my high school sweetheart. And I basically got the opportunity, a job ad, to go down and work in the Dominican Republic. They needed students, basically people to work for free. So I took a student job, went down there, and worked with an entrepreneur from Montana, and got in an accident. And, but through that accident, that time down there, I fell in love with the Caribbean. And I fell in love. I'd never seen anything like it. I'm from Montana, from the mountains, I'm from the hills, I'm from the lakes. I'm a river boy. I was like, what? Fell in love with that turquoise, perfect blue water and ocean. I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I got in that water one time in the Caribbean. I was like, I'm alive. And so I said, I just want to live here. And so I did. I went back to college in Montana. And I ended up having this board. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but I had all these things pinned up. I'm sure you all have these things in your dorm rooms or in your houses. You had these things. So I had all these things pinned up. But if you looked, it was all my pictures from the Caribbean. It was like palm trees and just, I didn't know it was like a vision type board. It was just all these things. And from that time to the time we moved down here would be, 23 years. Almost 20 plus years. I'll do the math in my head in a minute. But in that time, I thought, you know what, Jamie, one day I'll move to the Caribbean. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, why haven't I done it yet? Why am I waiting for retirement to do it? That's Puerto Rico. It's beautiful. I live on a beach. That turquoise water is my morning reality. And it took 20 years. 20 years. But you know what it really took? The decision to do it. Because I could have waited another 15 years. But at some point, you got to go for it. Jamie at some point said, I'm going to start my own cosmetic line. That was crazy. But from that moment you did that to the moment you sold to L'Oreal for $1 billion, how many years was that?
8.
8. Oh, you're so much better at math than I am. Okay, 8 years. So, but it would, if she didn't ship that first product, if she hadn't gone and pitched it, if she didn't try to sell it, 8 years later, she sells the company for $1.2 billion. $1 billion? I always get it wrong. And once you go past $1 billion, it's all just monopoly money in my mind. I don't know. But you got to understand, those 8 years, she also put in an unbelievable, ridiculous amount of work. And difficult days. And I think it's just so important for y'all to understand, sometimes your work and your difficult days, that is living the vision. Don't forget that.
Yeah, it's like there's big picture, long-term vision, right? Because that big kind of mission is what helped me get through all the years of rejection. But then also just, every day you are living the vision. You know what I mean? And I love that you started out today with like a real behind the scenes moment. Which, by the way, let me just keep it real here. I didn't know if you'd ever go there on this morning show, because I met you by doing a keynote speech on your stage with thousands and thousands of people in the audience. I have now had the blessing of hearing from thousands of people that you've inspired, right? There's people that see you on stage. Of course, you're real on stage and all that. I didn't know, though, because it's the first time I think this has ever happened where we're like in our homes and we're going live, and there's no frameworks and scripts, although you certainly share them, which is such a gift. But we're just like, I didn't know how real you're going to be. So when you kicked off this morning, sharing
she sees me dancing in front of 2,000. How more real and vulnerable can you be?
I do.
I'm a horrible dancer, and I'm dancing in front of 2,000 people, not once, not twice, like 8 times a day. Anyway.
So here's my theory. Nobody is a horrible dancer if they fully commit. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
Right?
Amen. I'm it out.
Listen, anyone out there, whether you're on a dance floor, you're at a Brendan Burchard event, or anywhere else, if the person fully commits,
gotta commit.
It's the best dancer in the room.
Dancer.
It doesn't matter if they're off the beat. It doesn't matter what's going on or how much space they're claiming. If they commit, it's the best. It's the best. And you commit. So listen, you cannot call yourself a bad dancer. You commit, and you commit on stage fully in front of thousands of people, and you bring the joy, and you cannot fake authenticity. So
well,
everyone
you do. If you all have not seen the gift of Jamie Kern Lima speaking on stage, I mean, obviously she's amazing in this Growth Day morning show, but it is a different thing to see a woman own the stage in front of 2,000 people in such a way that they are crying and they open their heart and they're laughing. And more importantly, they commit to their vision, because they hear Jamie go, I mean, she committed. She committed to a vision, and she was okay suffering through we our vision for our life, we think, is an end game. It's an outcome. It's a day of perfection. Everything goes good. But the question is, are you living into the vision and enjoying it as it's happening? As it's happening is the magical trick, because lots of people get to the end goal and they're not happy.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the end goal. The vision is the journey. The journey is the vision. And so if you can feel it and enjoy it, everyone always asks, are you proud of something in your career, Brendan? And the number one thing I'm proud of, and I can say with true commitment and just knowing the industry, I've done it happier than anyone I know. Any of my legends, I'm happier. Any of the people I've had, I just know I'm happier throughout the journey. After, this is my 20th year. I don't know anyone who's been happier along the way, and did it their authentic way, their style. And I'm not saying, because look at me, I'm saying I made sure that happened. I said, bring the joy. I wear a shirt that says, bring the joy. Because sometimes I'm a grumpy bear in the morning. Ask Denise. I'm like, just because I'm a night owl. So some days I wake up as the grumpy bear. Night owls are sometimes grumpy bear in the morning. So I'm just like, actually not grumpy. I just say non-communicative, just more like. So I think it's important, y'all, Live and enjoy the vision. You
And
are.
I think you sharing that you've done it that happy for this long is such a victory. And I just want to say, those of us who we can make changes to do that. And I'm just speaking as someone who spent a lot of years working 100-hour weeks, and I forgot to enjoy a lot of moments. Like I forgot to celebrate some big wins when they were finally happening. And I'm making shifts in my life right now to enjoy the day more, to bring the joy more, to feel it more. Like truth is, Brendan, in the middle of this book launch, like my book comes out in 3.5 weeks. And so what I'm doing right now is all day press. This morning, I was so tired, I put makeup on top of yesterday's makeup that I fell asleep in for press today. Now, the me before in the past would be like, oh, I would have thoughts of like, oh, I hope this is going to look okay. Now I'm like, this is freaking funny, because how cool is this that I'm just going to like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to think that it's actually part of the journey, that I'm like blessed enough to have press happening where, you know what, I'm tired, but I'm going to show up anyway, I fell asleep in my makeup, but put makeup on top of makeup so that I have all day press, like, but I'm going to enjoy it and not, and it's the journey, right? Imperfectly. So you in your underwear with smoothie, me with my 2 days of makeup in a row, and I'm going to pray that the press goes well today for the book launch. But like, it's in it. We're all in it. And I love
showing up for it.
Yeah.
Showing up for it. Showing up. Shout out to Larry King, my mentor and friend who died this Saturday. I've got this clip of him and I talking, and he just goes, those who succeed, they just show up for it more, and we're showing up for the vision. Jamie and I have this vision. We're going to encourage people. It doesn't mean every day we show up with a complete plan and a framework and our messaging figured out. Sometimes it's like we're just, she's getting the final makeup thing applied, and I'm like getting the shirt on. Like it's you have to understand. Just be in the vision, live the vision each day. Even if it's not the whole day, even if it's not perfect. Her and I are both gonna have to do administrative crap and emails, just like you're all gonna have to do today. But we start the day with intention to be in the vision of personal growth. This is what Growth Day is about. Growth Day. We literally started, I actually own growth.com, the website, but we started the brand and said, no, we're going to call it Growth Day. We're going to call it Growth Day. We want to remind you every day is a day to start anew, choose a new attitude, take the next action, learn more, say sorry, show up with joy, reset, forgive, start something. Every day is a good day to grow. Growthday.com. That was so huge for me. I want people to know every day is that chance. Every day you can earn it. Every day you can earn this life. Every day you can earn that vision. Every day you can be part of it, enjoy it, and feel it. Even if you have down days, bad days, suck days, difficulties. Jamie and I are working our tails off. I'll share one last idea. Jamie's launching a book in 4 weeks. It's called Believe It. I hope you will pre-order. I know tons of you guys already have, so thank you. Make sure you order Believe It on Amazon. It's for pre-order.
I sleep with it now. It's always next to me.
You got to show it all the time. Yeah. So go make sure you pre-order on Amazon. But listen to this. Jamie, I want to tell you this. This is such a huge compliment to you, and I hope you can receive it. The month that your book comes out, another 15,000 books will be released. Like major trend books, if you will, from major publishers and mid-tier publishers, 15,000 some books. We're not even talking about the self-published or just the post on Amazon or people put in PDF on their websites. No, straight up major publishers, mid-tiers. We're talking about 15,000 books that month. The reason Jamie's going to be on the New York Times bestseller list is because she hungers for that vision and will do what is required for it, even though it's hard. And I want to say this, a lot of people woke up today with the same vision you have for life. You got to ask yourself, are you earning it? Because they're going to say, I'm going to hustle today. I'm going to earn it today. Someone will outwork you. Someone will outperform you. Someone will desire. Someone will get to work. Someone will go for it because that vision to them means something. They're committing it, living it on the daily, even when it's hard, more than you. That's why Growth Day, on the daily, that vision commitment. So you want that extraordinary outcome. I promise out of those 15,000 people being published next month, very few of them, I don't know, 10 will be on the New York Times bestseller list that week out of 15,000. Jamie's going to be there because she committed that vision a year and a half ago and has slayed every day, even though it hurts. So I'm telling you all, commitment to that vision. Jamie, I'm so proud of you for how hard you've worked because you don't need to. You don't need to, but you want this book to change lives, and it will, guys. So make sure you pre-order it. Believe it. Jamie's book on Amazon. I'm so proud of you, Jamie. You're crushing.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage,
Jamie Kern Lima!
baby Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.